What is up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. And as always, we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have a lot of volleyball to discuss, such as Long Beach State beating UCLA in the NCAA Men's Volleyball National Championship. The Beach is indeed back on top. How did they do it, and what did they do in order to overwhelm the Bruins and end their hopes of a three-peat? Also, the Orlando Valkyries, they wound up winning the match for $1 million over the Indy Ignite. What? The Indy Ignite made it to the final? How did they make it, and how did the Valkyries pull off the win? Also, the Huntsville Open did not disappoint, as we had some favorites win it all, we had some Olympians win it all, and we had some future Olympians make it to the final. But who made it out on top? Also, Seattle Second Division 1 finals are this weekend, as Division 1 has Huntington Beach and Mira Costa battling it out. Which beach city will come out on top? Canby Volleyball, Set Net, Dunbar Circuit Volleyball action here on Set Point. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of Set Point here on iSports Radio, your feed for all that is sports.
And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, Tuesday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 298 of Set Point. And without any further delay, let's begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard or on Twitch or on YouTube. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Also, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. It would greatly be appreciative. And if you can, please do leave in the comment section of probably Set Point saying that you subscribed because of Set Point. It would definitely mean a lot. So please and thank you for your support. And we have surpassed 400 subscribers. We're on the road to 500 subscribers and so on and so forth. So we got to keep this IE Sports Radio train going. Also, make sure to check out our website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our pages dedicated to each podcast, such as Set Point, our merchandise shop where you can cop t-shirts, tank tops for the summer, and hoodies for the winter, and so much more. Also, check out our Hall of Fame, where yours truly is inductee number 10. And check out our blog, which I actually managed to have a story, a game recap posted. A little late, but better late than never, and so much more on the IE Sports Radio website. For the last 10 years, soon to be 11 years later on this week, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports days around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all of that sports. A huge shout to our sponsors, Plant Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, and Vital Apparel. So without any further delay, let's get on in to what our sponsors are all about.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing sponsors, as well as check out our website, iesportsradio.com. And the way you can follow SetPoint on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at @set_point_IE. And you can follow me, the host, personally on X as well, at Teran Rodriguez 1. You could also follow SetPoint on Instagram, at @set_point_IESR. I would highly encourage you to follow that. It would definitely mean a lot. It's starting to grow. I promise you, it's nearing 1,000 followers. It's 3/4 of the way there. I greatly appreciate everybody for their support when it comes to SetPoint on Instagram. I'm trying to use Instagram more. I'm starting to learn more of the tricks of the trade when it comes to Instagram and whatnot. So with all that said and done, let's get on into the volleyball action. So well, before we do that, we have to thank Kevin Pratt for all that his contribution to SetPoint. A SetPoint salute to him for his contribution to SetPoint. It really does mean a lot. All right, now let's get on into the volleyball action. So I don't know if you all know, but there was the national championship in men's volleyball that was yesterday, and Long Beach State was able to get back onto its top spot as they wound up winning it all. Congratulations to Long Beach State on winning the national championship. Truly an amazing feat. Moni Nikolov, whether he's going to be staying with Long Beach State for another year or if he's going to go pro, it was just a masterful performance by Moni. Moni Mania just swept the nation, and honestly, it was just phenomenal. And I actually got a few little flicks from their pep rally today, as here's a picture of John Perry, one of the I think he's a technical assistant coach for Long Beach State men's volleyball. I think he also works on the women's side as well. He has the bracket up there. Let's actually just take this down. So yeah, you have that. Then you have Alan Knipe speaking to the people. And then you have a picture of the team as the championship was being crowned and whatnot. So those were a few flicks that I got. And I got some like interviews. Well, no, I didn't get interviews. I got the speech from Alan Knipe as well as a quick speech from Skylar Varga and Moni Nikolov, the team captains for Long Beach State men's volleyball. So that's quite phenomenal and quite amazing, if you ask me. I'm happy that I was able to attend the pep rally after missing out on the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament. But let's actually recap the collegiate tournament from head to toe. So, well, from toe to head, but you get what I mean. So, the first round, UCLA swept Belmont Abbey. Now, UCLA didn't really demolish Belmont Abbey like most people would think. Belmont Abbey actually held their own when it came to UCLA, but the Bruins just had an answer for them, but they didn't like blow them out. They proved that they belonged in the NCAA men's volleyball tournament, and there was a reason why they wound up winning the Conference Carolinas tournament for the second straight year, which I thought was pretty phenomenal, if you ask me. And beating Mount Olive was no easy feat, but UCLA was able to come out on top. They have not lost a first-round match since 1972. I did not know that. It was quite phenomenal, if you ask me. I think it's bonkers, crazy, loopies, just absolutely amazing right there. I didn't even know that feat. So the second matchup from the first round of the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament was Hawaii versus Penn State. I kept trying to tell you all that this was going to be an underrated matchup, and this was definitely going to be one of the more interesting matchups. It was Penn State's experience versus Hawaii's talent, youthful talent, but Hawaii was able to come out on top in 4 sets. First set, Hawaii was actually down by as many as 8, and it looked like Penn State was ready to pull off a big upset, but Hawaii used a 9-0 run, eventually took the first set. Penn State got their lick back and got the second set. And then Hawaii narrowly took the third and fourth set, which I thought was pretty cool, if you ask me. I mean, Penn State had their chances in sets 3 and 4, but unfortunately, they just could not take advantage of them. But it was a great run for Penn State. Remember, they started off 0-7. It was looking all gloomy and doomy. They had fallen out of the top 20 for the first time in over 300 weeks, which I thought was crazy, if you ask me. But they were able to right the ship. They were able to win 3 straight in the EIVA tournament. They actually had won 5 straight, and they didn't even drop a set, which I thought was pretty impressive as well. But they met their match against Hawaii, so there you have it. Then we had Long Beach State versus Fort Valley State. First and foremost, I do gotta give a shout to Fort Valley State and Long Beach State and their head coaches for being the only coaches to get back to me regarding me wanting to interview them before the NCAA tournament. I unfortunately could not get every single coach. It really sucks. I heard back from a couple schools. They were trying to find a good time for me, but they never really got back to me. And then I unfortunately didn't hear back from everybody, which really sucks. But it is what it is, and them's the breaks, unfortunately. Last year, I was able to interview every team that made the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament. Well, at least every coach, with the exception of UCLA. I had to interview Alex Knight, but he was kind of like a player coach in my opinion, but I digress. But Long Beach State took down Fort Valley State, but I will just say, first set, Fort Valley State was not shying away. It was actually 16-16, but Long Beach State was able to use a 7-1 run to eventually pretty much pull away. But Isaiah Fedd, remember that name. He was fantastic. He had a game-high 14 kills. I only wish he could have had a little bit more backup just because he was the only one double digits kills. He had 2/3 of the kills for Fort Valley State, but that just goes to show that Long Beach State did a good job of forcing him to have to play Superman. And when it's just one player trying to play Superman and try to carry the team, it's not going to bode well for said team. But Isaiah Fed, he is absolutely amazing. Hats off to him on a great match for Fort Valley State. But it was Long Beach State coming out on top. And then we had the only upset of the first round. It was Pepperdine taking down Loyola Chicago in 4 sets. Like I mentioned in my recap video, I thought it was going to be a little bit of a long match with Loyola taking that first set because they looked dialed in. But Pepperdine winning that second set was the big turning point. They're down 23-21. They dodged 3 set points, and they eventually wound up winning set 2, 28-26, and they eventually rode the momentum from there. Ryan Barnett and Cole Hartkey are the two-headed monster for that team. I think this team is so going to be good next year. The NPSF as a whole is going to be good next year. And Pepperdine pulling off the only upset of the first round is quite phenomenal. I will admit, I picked Loyola to win that matchup, but that was a very 50-50 game. That was my only miss of the whole tournament. Spoiler alert, that even though I did pretty much predict the national champion correct, I missed Pepperdine Loyola. I did not know that Pepperdine was going to shut down Loyola after that second set. That was such a backbreaker for Loyola. If they take that second set, they're up 2-0, and Pepperdine's on its heels. So I feel bad for Parker Van Buren. I hate how he has to go out like that, but them's the breaks, unfortunately. So Pepperdine advanced to the Final Four. So it was MPSF versus Big West versus MPSF versus Big West for the second straight year. Last year we got UC Irvine, UCLA, and GCU Long Beach State. This year we had Pepperdine, Long Beach State, and Hawaii, UCLA. So it was a Big West versus MPSF semifinal ×2 again. So in the semifinals, we had Long Beach State taking down Pepperdine in 4 sets. Now, the first set, Pepperdine looked really ready to go. Second set, Long Beach was able to eke out that one. Third set, Long Beach State looked a little bit more comfortable in that set, eventually taking it. And then set 4 was a grinded out match. It was a tug of war. But Long Beach State was able to pull away when it needed to, and they were able to hold off Pepperdine to take the 4th set and avoid having to play a 5th set, just because when it comes to a 5th set, all bets are off when it comes to Pepperdine, and they know that they would have been on their heels, and the pressure would have been on them to try to beat Pepperdine, because Pepperdine would have had all the momentum and whatnot. But a great run for Pepperdine. I'm just going to say that was a great season by them. They got back to the NCAA tournament. They won the MPSF tournament. They beat UCLA and USC. And got to keep in mind, they came into the MPSF tournament on a 2-match losing streak, having lost twice to BYU on the road. But in all honesty, Pepperdine was definitely an enticing team to watch for. And I think they're going to do big things. They definitely have a bright future ahead of them. And here's hoping that they can continue to make their future bright. Now for the other semifinal, we had UCLA versus Hawaii, and this one I feel kind of went as expected, but not that expected. So first set, it was all UCLA. It just felt like you get out of bed after you partied all night and you were just hungover. I feel that might have been Hawaii because nothing was going their way. Nothing. They were getting killed in the crazy way possible. They were getting aced. They were getting roofed. It was just not their first set. First set was all UCLA, winning it 25-14. Second set was a little closer, and there was some chirpiness and chippiness right there. This is kind of the rivalry when it comes to UCLA and Hawaii. Everyone always says that Long Beach State UCLA is always a big-time rivalry, but honestly, UCLA-Hawaii is not too far off. And you got to remember, they're 2 years removed from facing one another in the national championship. So eventually UCLA took that second set in close fashion. They held off a comeback from Hawaii. And then the third set was pretty much the same as they eventually closed off the match. There was a little bit of chirping at the end, and it looked like there was going to be a little bit of a confrontation, but then cooler heads prevailed as UCLA advanced to the national championship. So UCLA Long Beach State round 2. And this was my projected final. I'm gonna just tell you all, the 2 seeds seem to have the tough time winning a national championship. The last time we had a 2 seed winning the national championship was 2019 when Long Beach State wound up winning it all. And then you also had, they were the only team in the last 11 years as a 2 seed to win the national championship. So There's your little snap of fun facts right there. But national championship, Long Beach State versus UCLA, the chance for the three-peat versus the chance for redemption. And then first set, the first point was Moni Nikolov serving. And believe it or not, it was out. But then Alan Knipe, this man, Alan Knipe, I don't know what he was thinking when it came to this. This man right there, that man in the center who's holding up his hand while speaking. I don't know what he was thinking challenging this, but he had that inkling thinking that ball went off of Luca Curci, the libero for UCLA. And believe it or not, they won the challenge. And I was at the watch party in Long Beach called Legends. Really good place, by the way. Darn good burger. Their smoky mac and cheeseburger was just to die for, by the way. But the guy next to me was saying this Moni Nikolov, Moni's going to ace him. And sure enough, he did. So eventually that was pretty much this. That was how that first set went for the most part. It was pretty much all Long Beach State, 25-17. Long Beach State just put pressure on UCLA in terms of hitting, blocking, and serving. And the serving was what really got UCLA off their rocker. So Long Beach State took the first set. UCLA looked a whole lot crisper in the second set. They actually led by as many as 5. And I was thinking, all right, well, the Bears officially woken up. So I think we're about to see the real UCLA, right? Wrong. UCLA was up 20-16, but then, believe it or not, Long Beach State was able to get back into it with some tough serving. Moni Nikolov dealt an ace, so it was 2019, and then Moni Nikolov dealt another ace, so it was tied at 2020. So, and the weird thing is that John Hawks, UCLA's coach, he called 2 timeouts, one on 20-19, and then the next one at 20-20. He really wanted to ice Moni Nikolov in the worst way. Another unsung hero in that second set was Isaiah Pruitt. He really came up big with his serving as well. It wasn't the most flashy or tough serving, but it really got UCLA off its game, and then it got Long Beach State back on its A game. So eventually UCLA or Long Beach State took the second set 25-23 off of a one-handed set to Darius McRaven, and everyone was just going ballistic, whether you were at the Cavalli Center or at Legends in Long Beach. So Long Beach State was up 2-0, and they eventually started off set 3 leading by 5. And I was thinking, oh man, UCLA is on its heels. This is danger zone time for the Bruins. But those gutty little Bruins were able to narrow the gap. They got the lead down to 1. It was 21-20, and it looked like UCLA had a little bit of momentum going. But thankfully for Long Beach State, they didn't relinquish the lead, and they were able to close off the match off of an overpass kill from Moni Nikolov. How fitting that Moni Nikolov, the ABCA newcomer and player of the year, was able to put that ball down. There's also the Big West player of the year and the Big West freshman of the year. Absolutely amazing. Long Beach State caps it off by winning the national championship. Let's show that bracket one more time. Boom, as everyone at Long Beach would say. And yes, that is John Perry. Thank you to John Perry for letting me take a picture of him holding the bracket up. And there's Alan Knipe in the background. So overall, it was a fast match. I did not expect UCLA to get swept that easily. I thought it was at least going to go 4. But honestly, UCLA should have taken that second set. Unfortunately, they did not. As my boy Devin Buston says, when are you going to talk about the CIF Southern Section Finals? That's going to be a little later in the show, my guys. But thank you to D-Bus for popping into the chat room. I really do appreciate him tuning in. That means a lot, Devin. I promise you I will talk some CIF Southern Section boys volleyball, but that's not going to be until like a little later on in the show. Anyway, so back to the UCLA Long Beach State match. A great match. It was shorter than expected. I would have liked to have seen the numbers get boosted. I actually do not know the final numbers for the UCLA Long Beach State men's volleyball national championship match, but I hope it's pretty high. I really want those numbers to be booming. We really got to grow NCAA men's volleyball. I really don't know how to explain it, but yeah. NCAA men's volleyball needs to grow. That way we can avoid having programs getting dropped because of this whole lazy narrative that Alan Knipe and pretty much every coach has talked about. So all in all, when it came to NCAA men's volleyball, I'm glad we got to see other content creators show up on Instagram and on X as well. And obviously with the current ones like Vinny Lopes, myself, Rob Aspero, et cetera. But we also had some new ones come out of the woodwork, like Joe McCurdy, who got to be at the NCAA tournament. We had Set the Bick with my man Izzy. He did a bang up job with those graphics. So bang up job. Set the Bick also, I gotta give him his flowers as well. His graphics were fire when it came to the NCAA men's volleyball tournament. Just an amazing job by everyone in the volleyball community. Whoever you are, if I missed you, you did your part to help grow NCAA men's volleyball, which is more than I could say for the NCAA. I'm very disappointed that the NCAA just did not post anything on Instagram. No post on social media whatsoever. Not even a championship post. Not even the whole one-day championship post saying, "Oh, look, we actually care for NCAA men's volleyball," when in reality we don't. Here's the championship match. Here's the info. Go on and watch it. Haha. Nah, NCAA. I'm very disappointed in you. All of us are disappointed in you. Just why would you do this? Why? As Adam Carnick actually pops into the chat room, he says, beach volleyball, my favorite kind of volleyball. That's going to be for a little bit later. That's going to be in segment 2. And then Adam Carnick says, good evening, Teran. Hey, good evening to you too, Adam. Thank you for popping in. I'm glad you were able to tune in. But I'm very disappointed in the NCAA for not even making one social media post. I called them out on it. Tiff Wells, the Hawaii men's and women's volleyball radio play-by-play announcer for ESPN Honolulu, called them out on it. I mean, honestly, and then Adam says, wrong show, I know, but will the NCAA make Dum Dum the Week? You know what? I will give it to them. I will gladly give it to them on Friday when I do the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. But yeah, I think NCAA is due for Dum Dum of the Week. And I gave it already to GCU in Utah from last week, but honestly, NCAA, I'm very disappointed. Not one social media post. And I even said anyone on IE Sports Radio probably could have made a social media post about volleyball. Adam Carnick made a social media post about volleyball. Heck, I think even our other hosts made a post about a volleyball. Even Jen B. Like any one of our hosts on IE Sports Radio could have made a NCAA men's volleyball post. What did the NCAA do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing in terms of like posting. And it was very disappointing and very frustrating. But unfortunately, the NCAA has its head up its you-know-what. But I digress. So overall, it was still an amazing season, a very fun season. Moni Mania was just absolutely amazing. And I'm glad I was able to cover him when I could. I mean, again, I don't know if he's going to be going pro. I mean, time will tell when it comes to that. But honestly, it was just an honor to cover Long Beach State men's volleyball, whether it's remotely or in person. So now we got some early offseason questions for next year. Which team will Long Beach State repeat as national champions? Will Moni Nikolov come back? Which team that missed the NCAA tournament will make the NCAA tournament? And vice versa. Which team that made the NCAA tournament will miss the NCAA tournament? Will ESPN have sideline reporters instead of having Kevin Barnett, do color commentary and then do the post-game interview? Like, that just goes to show that NCAA men's volleyball is like way further behind. Because if you saw the regionals for the NCAA women's volleyball tournament, they had 4 sideline reporters. I forget the last name of one, but it was like Shelby something. And then they also had Michaela Chester, Maddie Fitzpatrick, and then Emily Eamon. But no sideline reporter for the NCAA men's volleyball tournament or the national championship. So literally they had Bill Barnett or Kevin Barnett. They had to have Kevin Barnett literally do 2 jobs. So I hope or not UCLA. I hope ESPN is paying that man double and then some. So Adam wants to add to the NCAA questions. Will Loyola avenge its loss this next season? I think it can. Well, and now that Adam actually mentions it, they actually did just land a big-time transfer from Quincy. They landed, I think his name is Alexander Sosa from Quincy. He was Quincy's big-time hitter, and now he transfers over to Loyola, which I think is a huge deal. So that's actually a very good question, Adam. Will Loyola avenge its loss next season? I think it will. I don't know if they're going to be playing Pepperdine next year, but what I do know is that Loyola will be playing UCLA and Stanford next year in the First Point Collegiate Challenge. And the First Point Collegiate Challenge has a new location. It's going to be played in Phoenix, Arizona at the Phoenix Convention Center. So they no longer have the rights to Austin, Texas, which is a bummer. I might have to get creative in terms of like going to Phoenix next year. But Loyola did get a little bit of a schedule leak. They will play UCLA and Stanford in the First Point Collegiate Challenge in Phoenix, Arizona. And Ball State's also going to be partaking in the First Point Collegiate Challenge after not partaking in it last year. They partook it in two years ago. And then UCLA, Stanford are kind of the regulars. Stanford has been in the First Point Collegiate Challenge because Glenn Litsky had a kid playing at Stanford, and he wanted to have the First Point Collegiate Challenge and so on and so forth. Like, Stanford's the only consistent team in the First Point Collegiate Challenge, and that's good for Glenn Litsky. But yeah, thank you for putting that into the chat room, Adam, about Loyola. So yeah, that's actually a very good question. Will Loyola avenge its season? And I can go as far as to say that Loyola could possibly make it to the NCAA tournament again. Now, it all depends on if they win the MIVA, the MIVA, the Midwestern Intercollegiate Volleyball Association, or if they get one of the two at-larges, or if the NCAA wants to, they can expand the friggin' tournament to 12 teams at the very least, or 16, whatever floats the boat. But I could see Loyola making it back to the NCAA tournament, and I could see them possibly avenging its loss to Pepperdine. So, but I don't know if they're going to play Pepperdine next year. That's all depends on what Shane Davis and what everyone else wants to do. So. But that's a good question to ask, Adam. Ralph Cleese says, "Good evening, Teran. Here's to having a straight set win type of show. Let's go." Well, thank you, Adam. Well, thank you, Ralph. Well, that's implying that it would be a quick show, but hopefully. But I get what you mean. But thank you, Ralph, for popping into the chat room and tuning in. So to put a bow on the NCAA men's volleyball season, we have the final ABCA men's volleyball national collegiate poll. So Pepperdine cracked the top 4. Someone actually told me that UC Irvine should still be higher than Pepperdine just because UCI beat Pepperdine and UCI didn't have a bad loss. Their only true bad loss was to UC San Diego, which was number 10 at the time. So, and then their other losses were to Hawaii and to Long Beach State. So there you go. But that's something what someone told me. Penn State had the biggest jump as well. They finished in the top 20 after a bit of turmoil. Hawaii finished number 3. According to Tiff Wells, he actually told me that Hawaii has the longest streak of finishing in the top 5 at the end of the NCAA men's volleyball season. I want to say that's correct. I want to get that correct. I want to get that correct vernacular right, because I don't want to misquote Tiff on that. But that was actually a little bit of a good fun fact from Tiff Wells. Yeah, he says, per the ABCA volleyball records, it marks the 22nd time since 1986 Hawaii men's volleyball has finished a season ranked in the top 5. So 22nd time since 1986. That is pretty darn good if you ask me. So that's incredible for Hawaii. And they'll be back on the big stage. I could see Hawaii getting back on the big stage sooner rather than later. They return a good amount of their team. They do lose Aleu Choi and Kurt Neuster, but they've got a lot of other studs returning. Finn Kearney will probably play his primary position at middle blocker. Christian Tatrisky will probably be back in the fold after he suffered an ankle injury. That, I think, also hurt Hawaii against UCLA as well. Most of their team will be back, barring no crazy stuff, if you ask me. And Hawaii should definitely be vying for not only a Big West Conference championship, but a national championship as well. So there you have it right there. That's the ABCA National Collegiate Men's Volleyball poll. And it's not quite time to. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't put my who I voted for in the Off the Block final bat poll. So all in all, I'll save that for when the poll gets released, and hopefully I will actually remember to post who I voted for. But I off the top of my head, I think I voted Long Beach State 1, UCLA 2, Hawaii 3, Pepperdine 4, Loyola 5, UC Irvine 6, USC 7, BYU 8, McKendree 9, and CSUN 10. Probably not going to be as accurate as it'll be at the end, but honestly, that's who I voted for in the Off the Block media poll. Probably should have put UC San Diego at 10, but I digress. But with that, the 2025 NCAA men's volleyball season has come to a close, and honestly, it was very fun if you ask me. So here's to 2026 and a lot of amazing things to look forward to next year. But on that note, let's close the book on the 2025 NCAA men's volleyball season, and we're going to take ourselves a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got some beach volleyball to discuss because I know Adam wants me to talk some beach volleyball, and we have some PVF to talk about in terms of the Pro Volleyball Federation, and then we'll also talk some high school boys volleyball later on the show in segment 3. So D-Bus, I hope you're listening, and I hope you'll be able to bear with me when it comes to that. But keep it locked here. You were listening to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for All That Sports. We'll be right back after this.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Galise, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate, diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports. And I will update you on all that's black and gold, have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Galise, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
Back with segment number 2 of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as the Injury Report with Ralph Galise and Chi-Town Weekly with Adam Karnick, both of those hosts were in the chat room. I greatly appreciate it. So we're actually going to talk some beach volleyball. I was going to talk some PVF, but because Adam wanted me to talk a little bit of some beach volleyball, when he mentioned that beach volleyball. He said beach volleyball, my kind of volleyball. I'll give him what he wants. I'll give him what he wants, and I appreciate him. And Brian Francione pops in the chat room. He says, "Good afternoon, Teran." Thank you, Brian, for popping into the chat room. And let's talk a little AVP. So the AVP is Huntington Beach Open. So this was where I was at on Saturday and Sunday. I really wanted to go to Columbus for the NCAA men's volleyball tournament, and I also wanted to go to Las Vegas for the PBF championships. But this was where I was at on Saturday and Sunday. It was either go to this or go to nothing at all. So I went to the Huntington Beach Open, and on the men's side, we had Miles Partain and Andy Benish beat Chase Budinger and Miles Evans. And on the women's side, we had TKN, aka Taryn Brasher, and Kristen Nuss taking down Megan Kraft and Therese Cannon. So got some more flicks for you all. And these picks were actually courtesy of one by the name of Dan Thomas, one of the AVP's head honchos or media head honchos. So here is me interviewing Kristen Nuss and Taryn Cloth. And actually, Dan did a really good job of getting my good side. So thank you to Dan for taking that picture. And then here is a picture of me interviewing Miles Partain. I couldn't interview Andy Benish as well because he was getting interviewed by another reporter. And if you could see in the background, there was about to be the women's final as warm-ups were happening. So I had to really speed it along. And thankfully, my interview only was 2 minutes. And thankfully, I didn't get into any trouble. I said it was going to be a minute and a half, but I went over 30 seconds. But I digress. But thank you to Dan Thomas for getting those pics of me. I really do appreciate it. But for the let's actually just recap the whole thing when it comes to the men's thing. I actually kind of missed half of day one, so I'll just quickly skim through the men's side of things. So long story short, Miles Partain and Andy Benish, they just pretty much ripped through everybody. They ate everybody for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They did not drop one set when it came to the AVP's Huntington Beach Open. They were just dominant all season. They were just strong altogether. It was a big time win for them, and they really impressed me, in my opinion. So, in that final, when they placed Chase Budinger, yes, the Chase Budinger, the former NBA player who's now a volleyball player, when they played Chase Budinger and Miles Evans, that was actually a rematch of last year's AVP League Championship when the San Diego Smash took on the Dallas Dream, where the San Diego Smash, which had Miles Evans and Chase Budinger, edged out Miles Partain and Andy Benish in the final. So that was kind of a little bit of a redemption match for Partain and Benish. And if you saw my interview, I obviously had to ask Miles about UCLA winning if UCLA was going to win the national championship. Unfortunately, his gutty little Bruins just could not prevail, but it was a fantastic season. Believe it or not, Partain was actually on the roster, and he actually had a year of eligibility left. Now, I'm not sure if if that's gonna carry over to next year, but I think Partain's got some bigger fish to fry when it comes to volleyball, and I think he's moved on from that. But I digress. So yeah, it was a strong, dominant win. It kind of reminded me of Taylor Sander and Taylor Crabb, where they just dominated the AVP's Huntington Beach Open when they didn't lose a set. But this time we have a new winner, and Chase Budinger and Miles Evans, I'll give them credit. They really did well in the semifinals. They took down Taylor Crabb, one half of the duo that wound up winning the Huntington Beach Open last year, as well as Billy Allen. Now, Billy Allen is 43 years old, and contrary to popular belief, I don't think Taylor Crabb is an old dog. He's only 33. He's no older than me. So there's that right there. But I digress in that regard. Anyway, but yeah, that semifinal between Billy Allen and Taylor Crabb versus Chase Budinger and Miles Evans, that was a thriller right there. That was a 3-set barn burner. And thankfully for Evans and Budinger, they were able to come out on top. Unfortunately, they kind of ran into a buzzsaw with Andy Benish and Miles Partain. Benish was just on one. So it was on one in the championship match. So you got to give it up to him. And I'm sure Partain and Benish will continue to do great things. Look, they didn't have the best run in the Olympics, But that's because they were the youngest pair of all of the Olympic pairs when it came to the men's side. So, of course, they were going to have a little bit of inexperience showing, but they were able to finish in the top 8. They finished tied for 5th. So I think they're going to build off that, and they're going to continue to grow and flourish in terms of their partnership. Now, on the women's side, jumping over to the women's side of the Huntington Beach Open, that one really cooked. The final really cooked. But before that we get to the final, it was all chalk. It was the top 4 make it to the final 4 or the semifinals. We had TKN, or Teran Rodriguez, and Kristen Nuss taking on Kelly Cheng and Molly Shaw. So Kelly Cheng has a new partner, as unfortunately Sarah Hughes got off to a rocky start with an ankle injury. I think it was an ankle injury or or some sort of like leg injury. So she was kind of out for the first few weeks of the year, but it looks like she's back on track and she could be playing volleyball soon. I don't know if she's going to be in the AVP this year, but who knows? But Teran Rodriguez and Kristen Nuss were able to take down Kelly Cheng and Molly Shaw. I will say Cheng and Shaw do have a lot of good team cohesion. It's just that they kind of ran into a buzzsaw with TKN. They have been partnered with one another ever since their college days. So obviously it was going to be an uphill climb. And then the other semifinal was last year's AVP Huntington Beach champion, Melissa Jimana Paredes and Brandy Wilkerson, a.k.a. the Canadian duo, a.k.a. the duo that got silver in the Olympics from last summer, as they took on Olympic hopefuls Megan Kraft and Therese Cannon, both of which are former USC stars from their own time. But Therese Cannon and Megan Kraft took the first set. They broke a 14-14 tie, and they were able to use like a 6-1 run to eventually just pull away and take that first set. Eventually it was a 7-1 run, but I digress. And then the second set, Kraft and Cannon were up by quite a bit, but got to give credit to Jimana Paredes and Wilkerson. They battled back. I think they were down by as many as 4 or 5, and they were able to take that second set 21-19. But in the third set, Kraft and Cannon just had enough in the tank. They were able to withstand a little bit of a mini comeback from Wilkerson and Jimana Paredes, and they wound up winning the third set 15-12. So it was a great run for Jimana Paredes and Wilkerson, but they have to pass off the Huntington Beach Open crown to a new champion. So Megan Kraft and Therese Cannon advance to the final, where they take on TKN. So the first set, TKN, or Teran Rodriguez and Kristen Nuss, took the first set against Megan Kraft and Therese Cannon. And it looked like that was going to be the case for the second set, but down 20-18, Cannon and Kraft got a kill, and then Kraft dealt a service ace to tie the set up at 20-20. And eventually they wound up taking the second set 23-21, eventually forcing a third set. But in the third set, it was pretty much all TKN, as they were able to take the third set 15-9, eventually taking the match and finally winning their first ever Huntington Beach Open. And apparently this was Kristen Nuss's first time getting a surfboard, so she was very ecstatic. And hopefully they got their salted chocolate chip cookies, or salted caramel chocolate chip cookies, because that was kind of their new little victory thing right there. But I digress. But it was a great tournament run. And do keep an eye on Megan Kraft and Therese Cannon. They are definitely Olympic hopefuls, and I think they could definitely make the Olympics in the 2028 Olympics. I think it's going to be possible. I definitely think that they have what it takes, because they not only were dominant in this AVP tournament, they've been dominant in all the FIVB tournaments internationally. They've either been winning the tournaments or cracking at least top 3, or at least getting silver for the most part. But I think this duo of Kraft and Cannon, they are going to be one to watch for, and I think they are going to be on the come up. So do not sleep on them by any means. But it was the time was TKN's. So congratulations to TKN. I also got to show you all one more photo when it came to the Huntington Beach Open, and this is going to be a thing every time I go to a Huntington Beach Open or any sort of AVP tournament. And I got to show you all, but overall it was a very fun tournament. I enjoyed interviewing the athletes. I did get a little bit of sunburnt. If you could tell, I kind of got a little bit of sunburn. It's starting to go away as I apply, but I still got sunburnt on my arms, and that's still hurts like the Dickens. But what didn't hurt was I got a picture with Mark Schuerman, the PA announcer for the AVP. And look, we kind of were matching. We both had mics in our hands. And he actually taught me something that I didn't know. So apparently I can configure to have a selfie timed, so I don't have to like take it immediately. So I learned these things a whole lot. So no wonder Mark Schuerman has a million gazillion fulfillion fans. Well, I kind of have like a few, but I digress. But anyway, that's that for the Huntington Beach Open. Overall, a very fun tournament. But that's not it for the AVP. The AVP is actually going to be back in action. So the next AVP events are not this weekend, but next weekend. So the next tournament is the Palm Beach Open, which will be in Palm Beach in Florida, where that'll be from May 23rd to May 25th. And then also that same week is going to be week 1 of the AVP League, which will be on May 23rd and 24th. So as we all know, last year's champion, the San Diego Smash, was able to win the tournament in thrilling fashion over the Dallas Dream. But will they be able to come out on top this year? I mean, it's still going to be the same with Gina Arango and Teran Rodriguez as on the women's side. And on the men's side, it is Chase Budinger and Miles Evans. So they have already qualified. And all of the AVP the AVP pairs in terms of the AVP League have officially qualified, and which includes Avery Drost and his new partner, Wyatt Harrison. So congratulations to former Set Point guest, Avery Drost. Gotta show him some love. So, but it's not fully finalized on 4 of the pairs in terms of which teams they're going to be on, but we'll see. But that's going to do it for the AVP portion of this show. Needed to get that out there. And note to self, make sure you pack sunscreen when it comes to the AVP. Anyway, so that's that for the AVP. So now let's go to the PVF portion of the show. So the PVF championships saw the Orlando Valkyries come out on top and win the match for $1 million, winning a clean $1 million, which I think is pretty nice if you ask me. And the Orlando Valkyries, you got to remember the Orlando Valkyries timeline. Last year, they failed to make the playoffs. They pretty much tied for last place in the league with the Columbus Fury and the Vegas Thrill. And those two, because it was 7 teams last year and now it's 8 teams this year. So anyway, but now the Orlando Valkyries are back and they are on top of the ladder. But let's go over how everyone got here. So we'll start off with the PVF Championship semifinals. We had the Indy Ignite taking down the Omaha Supernovas in 5 sets. So just like last year, the number 1 seed went down. Last year, it was the Atlanta Vibe as the number 1 seed, losing to the Grand Rapids Rise, the 4 seed, in 5 sets. Now, this time around, it is the Indy Ignite, the 4 seed, taking down the number 1 seed, Omaha Supernovas. I'm going to be 100% honest. I did not see this coming from a mile away, especially since this is Omaha's last year in the PVF before they head off to the MLV. But I will say, I went back and watched this. It just didn't look like Omaha was the strong, intimidating self. I think they kind of looked good in set 5, and in set 3 they needed a little bit of a comeback as Indy led by as many as 4, but Omaha really turned the tide. It just didn't look like Omaha was the strong, dominant self that they were. It didn't look like they were the alpha female of the PVF like they have been throughout most of the year, which I thought was very disappointing. And I don't mean to say this in a demeaning way. I just think it's a little bit disappointing that they ended their run in the PVF like that. Now, it's not certain if the MLV is actually going to be a thing, but for now, it looks like Omaha Supernovas are going to the MLV. And someone actually brought this up, Terry Pettit, former Nebraska coach, who loves to speak his mind when it comes to volleyball and everything of it. He says, what will the PVF look like without the Omaha Supernovas? Will it thrive without the Omaha Supernovas? And to answer that question, I think the PVF will be fine without the Omaha Supernovas. They have the Indy Ignite, and volleyball is big in Indiana. And soon, and hopefully everyone else could follow suit, like Orlando, Atlanta, Grand Rapids. I know they're kind of big. San Diego needs to kind of come up. Columbus, I know, is big, and so on and so forth. So they just got to follow the blueprint of what Omaha did, because some of these cities, they're not really known for championships. I know Omaha is known for being a championship city in volleyball. Vegas, it's a great city, but other than the Golden Knights and the then Las Vegas Ramblers, we haven't really gotten a whole lot of championships. San Diego, obviously, I don't need to go over that. Atlanta, I mean, they have talented teams, but they haven't really won the big one. Columbus, I mean, I hate to have to rag on some of it. Like, I don't want to, like, rag on these teams and rag on their cities and say they're not championship worthy. But these teams need to bring home championships, professional championships, not collegiate championships, professional championships. But I digress. So anyway, but for the Indy Ignite, it was an amazing match. Nina Kayish, I've been pronouncing her name incorrectly throughout, for the love of me. She had herself a clutch performance. It was fantastic, if you ask me. I was just downright impressed by her. And she was one of the big reasons why Indy wound up winning. And honestly, I don't know if they get to the semi or if they get to the championship match without her, but I digress in that regard. It was just a very amazing match from the Indy Ignite. Their first year, and they wind up pulling off an upset like that. Especially, it's big for Sydney Hilly. That was her former team, the Omaha Supernovas. But she had 60 assists, 8 digs, and 7 kills. In my recap / preview of the championship, I said that she was getting her Moni Nikolov on, and I couldn't agree, and I still hold firm to that. Elena Scott had 15 digs. Anna DeBeer had 16 kills and 11 digs. She was kind of an unsung hero, especially since Azani Taylor only had 10 kills and 10 digs. But when they have other players stepping up, like Nina Kayish, as well as Anna DeBeer, that just makes Indy a much better team. And this is a team without Lecator member Benet. And then for Omaha, they were led by Brooke Nunneveller, who had 21 kills, and she had 12 digs. I feel she has been averaging a double-double. I can't confirm that to be fully true, but it feels like she averages a double-double every single match. But I digress. Reagan Cooper had 18 kills and 9 digs. Emily Londot had 12 kills and 18 digs. And then Toyoshi Onabanjo had 11 kills. Allie Witten had 10 digs, and then Camila Gomez didn't play. Mac Podraza, she had 62 assists. Now, I kind of wonder why Omaha went with her as setter. This is kind of like last year where Natalia Valentin Anderson, she only played the first 2 sets, and then they had someone else take the reins the rest of the way. But this time around, Omaha did not come away with the victory. Unfortunately, Omaha can't play the San Diego Mojo every single semifinal, but I digress in that regard. So Indy advances, and the other semifinal, and I can't believe I thought Omaha was going to win. I'm going to be honest. I'm sorry to the. Let me apologize to the Indy Ignite. I wasn't really familiar with your game. I picked the Omaha Supernovas to win it all. I'm sorry, Indy fans. I didn't mean to pick against your team. I can't, but I'm just so flabbergasted Omaha lost in the semifinals. That's not really like them, especially in a 5-setter, but oh well. And then Adam being funny, he says, I'd be okay with a dirty 1 million personally. Har har, Adam. Har har. Well played, sir. Anyway, the other semifinal was the Orlando Valkyries taking down the Atlanta Vibe in 4 sets. The 2-seed Atlanta Vibe fell to the 3-seed Orlando Valkyries. Now, I had a feeling this was going to be the case, just because Orlando is a very well-rounded team, and they also have the human right side cannon known as Brittany Abercrombie. She was just phenomenal, and she was named the league's MVP, and she was named the opposite of the year. She is just built differently when it comes to league championships or the league playoffs in pro women's volleyball leagues. She had 22 kills and 13 digs. Lindsay Vanderweide added 12 kills and 13 digs. They also got Kaz Brown with 11 kills and 7 blocks. And that's pretty much it in terms of the notable stats. Oh, and Champu Gudapard had 46 assists and 14 digs. And then for the Atlanta Vibe, we had Micaiah White with 20 kills. And then Leah Edmond added 16 kills. This is kind of where you wish you had Merritt Beeson, because she didn't play until set 4. Now, I know she hasn't really been in the lineup a whole lot this season, but it kind of makes me wonder, why is Merritt Beeson, your number 1 overall pick, not playing? Or was she just that banged up? I mean, I'm going to call a spade, but who knows? Anyway, Marley Montserrat had 34 assists and 16 digs, and then Morgan Hens had 18 digs. Unfortunately, it was just not enough. Atlanta, I will just say, man, losing twice in the semifinals in back-to-back years. And you got to keep in mind, Atlanta was the 1 seed last year, and then Atlanta was the 2 seed last year, and they had a lot of good play. A lot of their players get all PVF honors. They got Morgan Hens as the libero of the year. They had Corey Lewis as their rising player of the year, and then they had their coach get coach of the year as well. But unfortunately, it just did not translate to wins. So honestly, if I would have given coach of the year to Amy Pauley, in my opinion, and I'm not just saying that just because her team wound up winning the PVF championship, but you got to remember, Orlando went from no playoffs all the way to making the playoffs. But what do I know? I don't know as much ball as people that actually cover the PVF on a primary basis. I'm just a guy who pretty much who tries to cover the PVF to the best of his ability when NCAA men's volleyball season is off and running. But I digress. All right, but now for the match for the million. Orlando, number 3 seed Orlando Valkyries taking on the number 4 seed Indy Ignite. Kind of reminds you of the LOVB, where the 2 top seeds get upset and the 2 lowest seeds make it all the way to the championship, which I think is pretty funny if you ask me. The only difference is that is pretty much there's going to be a new champion and whatnot, and I forget. I feel there was like something else. It was something that Zachary Kroll on X informed me of, and I really do appreciate him informing me of this. And I think it was pretty informative of what he told me and whatnot. But the match for the million in terms of the PVF championship, that was pretty fun if you ask me. It was a very fun match. But in the end, the Orlando Valkyries took down the Indy Ignite in 4 sets. It just felt like the Valkyries were ready to go. Like, especially Brittany Abercrombie. She had 10 kills in the opening set. 10 kills in the opening set. And I even implied that Orlando needs to get the left side involved to take some pressure off of Brittany Abercrombie. But Brittany Abercrombie is just built differently when it comes to pro volleyball championship matches. She is just built different, and bravo to her. I really was just downright impressed by her. And eventually, and like I mentioned that, and I will say this for Indy, they did a good job of taking set 3, but I just felt like they were not in control. I mean, they were close in set 2, but then Orlando started to pull away. I just felt that this was all Orlando, and this was Orlando's time to shine. And it also speaks to high volumes of how good Brittany Abercrombie was when she had 27 kills, which was over half of Orlando's kills overall. Their next kill leader was Kaz Brown, who had 10 kills, which she actually is a middle. So, yeah. And then the most outstanding player of the match, or the MVP of the match, was Champu, who had 37 assists and 12 digs. Overall, it was a great win for Orlando, capping off their season. So congratulations to Orlando. Now, Indy, unfortunately, their season did come to a tough end, but the future looks bright for them. Remember, this is their first year, and once they get everyone on track, aka Lekator member Monet and a bunch of their other players, they're going to be tough to stop. And hopefully they don't lose too many of their players to free agency, as Azani Taylor led the Ignite with 16 kills and 8 digs. Nina Kayish had 10 kills, but unfortunately that it was just not enough. Sydney Hilly had 37 assists, 11 digs, but it was not enough for the Ignite, as the Valkyries were able to come out on top and pull off the win. So congratulations to Orlando on an amazing season, an amazing turnaround. So hats off to them, and hats off to the PVF on another amazing season. Hopefully, I will be able to make it to a PVF championship match or a PVF or the PVF championships as a whole or any sort of PVF match. Like, I really want to go to a PVF match. I really want to go to a PVF match. The closest one to me, however, is in San Diego. So I better start saving up big time, but time will tell. I would also like if the PVF were to give your boy a job or have some sort of partnership with the PVF. But one can only hope when it comes to this, when it comes to the PVF. And the PVF is still growing. That was only year 2 of it. Hopefully year 3 I can be part of it. And hopefully year 3 will be very fun and whatnot. So there you have it right there. That is pretty much that when it comes to the PVF portion of the show. And that's pretty much going to do it when it comes to the PVF. So I think it was a very fun season, and I can't wait for next year. And I am still trying to find the PVF championship or the post that Zachary Kroll posted to me. But all in all, okay, here it is. So Zachary Kroll says, just like LVB, the 2 lowest seeds advanced to the final. Weird. And then and just like last year when it came to the PVF, the 4 seed beat the 1 seed in 5. So what's going to happen next year? I don't know. Well, with that, the 2025 PVF season has come to an end. I can't wait for next year. It's going to feel a little weird without the Omaha Supernovas, but I know they're going to thrive in the MLV if it happens, but we shall see. But that's going to do it for the PVF. We're going to take one last commercial break. When we come back, we've got some CIF Southern Section Division I boys volleyball to discuss, as it's Mira Costa versus Huntington Beach in the final. Keep it locked here. You were listening to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
And we are back with Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as The Neutral Zone, as well as New York State of Sports. New York State of Sports is actually now on Fridays at 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern time. So definitely keep an eye on that. But let's actually go over some high school boys volleyball, as this weekend is the CIF Southern Section Division I Boys Volleyball Championship match between the Huntington Beach Oilers and the Miracosta Mustangs. So, sorry, that wasn't the right one. And there we go. Here it is. CIF Southern Section Division I Finals, Miracosta and Huntington Beach to clash for the championship. It's going to be a barn burner. I think it's going to be a great matchup. It's kind of what I expected, in my opinion, and I pretty much called this. I hate to have to toot my own horn here, but this was to be expected, in my opinion. And if we saw anything other than this, then I would have just been flabbergasted. But how it all panned out is that Huntington Beach and Miracosta both finished 3-0 in its pool. Both were pretty much dominant for the most part in its pool. Miracosta didn't drop one set in its pool. And then Huntington Beach only dropped one set, where they lost a set to Newport Harbor. By the way, I did have the honor of PA announcing Miracosta's boys volleyball match against Corona Del Mar. I didn't know that they didn't have the type of PA announcer that did play-by-play and whatnot. So I needed to fix that. It's like, you're the number one team in the nation, and you don't have a PA announcer. You don't have like a Rob Asparo-esque type of PA announcer, or Jim Henry-esque type of PA announcer. Make it make sense. So I volunteered to PA announce just because I'm that type of guy and I'm a good person. So there you have it right there. It was very fun. At first it was kind of difficult just because I don't know whose idea was it, but the volume was cranked up high all the way to 11, and that was unacceptable. So I don't know what anyone was thinking, but in my opinion, that was just a little if you ask me. Like, every time I try to speak, it was like and it's like, oh my god, and I was just like, I can't win. But thankfully, Joy Mackenzie Furbringer, whose son Mateo plays on Miracosta's boys volleyball team, and you gotta remember, she's a former Long Beach State women's volleyball player and coach. She was able to get someone to turn down the volume to the mics, and I was able to PA announce. Thank you, Joy Mackenzie Furbringer. You are the best. I greatly appreciate you. It really means a lot. So, thank you to Joy. Anyway, but overall, let's talk about this matchup. Miracosta, Huntington Beach. These two have already met with one another, with Miracosta winning in 2 sets in a best 2 out of 3 match. It was in the Miracosta Redondo preseason tournament. And honestly, Miracosta has just been dominant throughout most of the season. I mean, I get they have some question mark. I mean, they have little to no weakness. Like, I don't even know if they have a weakness. I mean, most of their seniors, most of their team is like senior laden. It was just so bonkers, if you ask me. I want to say most of, if not all, their starting lineup is filled with seniors. But honestly, I think that this is their moment to shine, because honestly, I would be surprised if this team wound up losing in the final, because they've got Grayson Bradford. They've got Thatcher Fallbush, which I think which I feel bad for him. Like, this poor guy, he is legit a fantastic player, and he was committed to GCU, but GCU decided to be stupid and cut their program in terms of men's volleyball. Great job, Thatcher. Or not Thatcher. A great job, GCU. Way to leave poor Thatcher in the cold and whatnot. Anyway, so Thatcher Fallbush, Grayson Bradford, Cooper Keene when he gets onto the floor, Andrew Chapin, he's dynamite as a setter. He's coming to SC. Wyatt Davis, he's Wyatt Davis is committed to UC Santa Barbara. Alex Hines, he's committed to NJIT. They only have 2 underclassmen, Mateo Furbringer, who's only a sophomore, and then Justin Warner, who's the libero, and he's a junior. Other than that, this team pretty much thrives off of their 8 players, which I think is pretty cool if you ask me. Now, on the other side for Huntington Beach, they have a mixed bag here. They've got experience on their team, but they also have their pins are pretty young as well. I mean, their pins are Logan Hutnick, who is just a phenomenal player. He went from middle blocker to outside, and I'm glad Craig Pizzanti finally has unlocked his true potential. Can't say the same for other teams that have to face him. And then you've also got Colin Choi as well as Ben Arguello. Both of them are juniors. Hutnick's only a sophomore. The libero is Aiden Atencio. He's solid as well. And then the setter is Kai Gant. He's committed to Harvard. He's done great things for Miracosta as well. So I think he's gonna do great things for the Crimson. I think their middles are both seniors. Justin Bolsonbutt and Nick Gagne. I know Nick Gagne is a senior. I'm not sure about Bolsonbutt, but I'm 95% certain that he's a senior as well. But overall, I think it's gonna. Overall, this Huntington Beach team is a bit of a mixed bag here. They've got some good guys on their team, but I think most of them are young, in my opinion. So, and that can kind of be a little problematic if you ask me. But honestly, Huntington Beach has no bad losses. I'd be surprised if anyone could point out a bad loss. I mean, maybe their bad loss came at the hands of Loyola when they lost in Best of the West, but that's not even a bad loss. And I'm trying to think of something other for Huntington Beach. They also lost to Marist in the Santa Barbara tournament, which is not a bad loss by any means. But anyway, believe it or not, the Max Prep standings have updated, and Miracosta and Huntington Beach, they're both number 1 and number 2, just like in the CIF seating. So number 1 in the nation, Miracosta takes on number 2 in the nation, Huntington Beach. And I think this is going to be a fun little matchup. And the match is on Friday at Cerritos College. It's at 7 p.m. I'm going to guess the reason why it's on Friday and not Saturday is because Miracosta has prom on Saturday. That's my only logical guess. Other than that, I don't know why they would have that on Friday and not Saturday, because every boys volleyball Division I final I've covered, it's always been on Saturday, except for in 2021 where Miracosta had prom and they moved the championship match to Friday instead of Saturday at Miracosta High. Oh, that probably is bringing back bad memories for Newport Harbor, having to play at Miracosta's gym, but I digress. So yeah, Justin Bolsonbutt is a senior, as well as Nick Gagne. Yes, they're both seniors. Both middles are seniors, so it's just the 3 pins that are all underclassmen. So okay, now to make my prediction for Huntington Beach Miracosta. Look, I love me some Huntington Beach. Craig Pizzanti is a former set point guest, and Huntington Beach has really wowed me this season. I knew they were going to be really good because they returned most of their players from last year. My only issue is they face a freaking buzzsaw with Miracosta. Miracosta has just been on point throughout the entire year. They haven't shown too many weaknesses. They've only lost one best 3 out of 5 match, which you could probably make the argument they shouldn't have lost to, just because Marist, they didn't play Marist at their best the first go around. But all in all, this Miracosta team has been on a tear as of late. It's been phenomenal for them. I really hate to pick against Huntington Beach, but I'm picking Miracosta to win. I think Miracosta wins wins on Friday. Now, Craig did promise me Duke's hamburgers if they win on Friday, but I really hope I mean on one hand I hope Huntington Beach proves me wrong, but at the same time it's like Miracosta has just been a freaking buzzsaw throughout most of the year, and I just don't see a whole lot of weaknesses in this team. I just think that they just look so good throughout they look so good 95% of the year, and I think they just don't have too many weaknesses that can be exploited. So give me Miracosta, but I expect a gritty barn burner match between the Oilers and the Mustangs. I just think that Miracosta is going to have a cut above the rest, especially with Grayson Bradford. And here's my thing for Miracosta. They didn't even play their best against Corona Del Mar, and they still made it look so easy. Like the second set, it looked like they were going to have a little bit of trouble in paradise, but they really turned it around in that second set after they fell down by as many as, I think, 4. Regardless, Huntington Beach is going to have its hands full. But if Huntington Beach can get Logan Hutnick going, if they can get their middles going as well, and if they can possibly throw Miracosta off of its A game when it comes to passing, I think that Miracosta will have a tough time keeping up with Huntington Beach. But I got Miracosta beating Huntington Beach. I think Miracosta is going to get redemption from last year. A lot of those boys from last year's team obviously want revenge from last year. They want to be the ones hoisting the championship in the end. And I think for Miracosta, they have the team to do it. This is probably their best chance because they lose all but 2 of their starters next year. So you have to wonder if this Miracosta team doesn't win, they could probably be on par with Loyola from 2022 to be one of the best teams to not win a CIF championship. Them and Newport Harbor in 2018 as well, but I digress. But I got Miracosta beating Huntington Beach in the final this Friday. I will be in attendance, and I will own up to my decision if Huntington Beach proves me wrong, but I have Miracosta winning it all. And that'll do it for the CIF Southern Section Division I Boys Volleyball Final Preview. Okay, I'm going to also be honest. It feels weird also not seeing a whole lot of some of these other finals at like other sites. Like Division II, it's Mater Dei versus Peninsula. It feels weird seeing them play their matchup at Mater Dei. I mean, you can't I get it. Friday is still a school day, but you can't get them to play at 4 or something. Get them to play at 4 p.m. and then transition into the next final, or maybe get them to play at 3:30. I don't know. Anyway, but that's going to do it for the high school boys volleyball portion of the show. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. And here is who I voted for in terms of the final off-the-block media poll. Long Beach 1, UCLA 2, Hawaii 3, Pepperdine 4, Hawaii 5, or Loyola 5, UC Irvine 6, USC 7, BYU 8, McKendree 9, and CSUN 10. If you all disagree with this, just let me know. Boop, there it is. And also in 2 more weeks, in less than 2 weeks, I'll be celebrating the 300th episode of Set Point. I really do need to get someone good on. I really want to have a guest on like I did with the 250th episode where I had Michael Boley. And for the 200th episode, I had Avery Drost, Mark Rosen on as well. So, but that's for another couple of weeks. I'm open to suggestions as well, and I'm open to guest suggestions as well. But until then, have yourself an amazing week. Enjoy all the volleyball action. I know the NCAA is officially done with volleyball altogether in terms of its seasons, but you still have other volleyball going on, like the AVP, which will be back up and running next week. You've got high school boys volleyball, which some of these boys are going to be the future of NCAA men's volleyball or NAI programs for the near future, and so on and so forth. But have a great week. Enjoy all the volleyball action, and definitely pack your sunscreen because it is going to be scorching. I'll see you all on Friday for the SoCal Stream Sports Show and the CIF Southern Section Division I Final. Have a great rest of the week, everybody. Peace.